Hello everyone. Welcome back to Unveiling Myths and Legends. Today we are bringing you a legendary story filled with courage and love. The tale of the hero Pelops from ancient Greek mythology. He not only challenged fate, but also demonstrated remarkable bravery in life and death competitions, ultimately crafting a heartwarming legend through love and determination. So, how did Pelops transform from a prince plagued by misfortune into a great king? Let's explore this thrilling journey together. If you enjoy stories like this from mythology, remember to subscribe to our channel and activate the notification bell so you won't miss any of our exciting episodes. Don't forget to share with your friends so we can spread these enchanting stories together. Now, let's embark on Pelops' adventurous journey. In ancient Greek mythology, one character's name is always closely linked with courage and love, and that is Pelops. His father was the legendary Tantalus, a figure punished by the gods, symbolizing misfortune and cruel fate in ancient Greece. Because Tantalus offended the gods, he was cursed to suffer eternally in Tartarus, casting a shadow over Pelops' life. However, despite his father's tragic fate, Pelops' story is filled with struggles against adversity and an indomitable spirit. He ultimately rewrote his destiny and became a beloved hero prince. The beginning of a tragedy. Tantalus, a well-known figure in Greek mythology, was the father of Pelops. His story is full of cruelty and tragedy, as he angered the gods, especially Zeus, and was ultimately forced into exile in Tartarus, where he suffered endless torment. Tantalus' misdeeds trapped him in an inescapable fate, forever in anguish in the depths of the underworld. However, despite his father's grim fate, Pelops did not yield. Instead, he vowed to surpass his father's tragedy and rewrite his own destiny. After Tantalus was exiled, Pelops became the prince of Phrygia, where he lived a peaceful and stable life on his territory. Yet, fate seemed not to have finished with him. When a conflict arose with the king of Troy, Pelops was defeated in battle and had to leave his homeland. This defeat forced him onto the path of exile, ultimately leading him to Greece, where he sought refuge in the court of King Oenomaus of Elis. Encountering love, meeting Hippodamia. In Elis, Pelops met the beautiful daughter of King Oenomaus, Hippodamia. She possessed an unparalleled beauty, her eyes shimmering with a mysterious light that seemed to hold countless secrets. Instantly captivated, Pelops resolved to pursue this stunning princess. However, things were not so simple, as the story soon took a significant turn. Oenomaus, determined to protect his beloved daughter, set up an almost insurmountable condition for marriage. According to a prophecy, Oenomaus' fate was intertwined with his daughter's wedding. He would only die when the wedding day came to an end. To ensure that his daughter's marriage would not come to fruition easily, Oenomaus established a cruel test. He required all suitors to participate in a life-and-death chariot race against him. The rules of the race seemed straightforward, yet it was incredibly perilous. Any suitor wishing to marry Hippodamia would first have to defeat Oenomaus. Those who failed to defeat the king would die by his spear. This race became a life-or-death showdown for all warriors. For Pelops, it was not just a challenge for love, but a test of survival. Many had participated in this competition, but had failed to survive, and Oenomaus' victories made him an unbeatable figure. Yet Pelops was undaunted. He realized this was a confrontation of destiny. Thus, he decided to challenge the powerful king, knowing that the outcome would determine his future and love. The challenge of the race. This competition was no ordinary race. It was a challenge filled with life and death choices. Starting from Pisa, the finish line was the altar of Poseidon in Corinth. Each contestant was to begin racing after Oenomaus made a sacrifice to Zeus. However, the fearsome aspect of this race lay not only in its distance or winding paths, but also in the formidable opponent they faced, Oenomaus. Not only did he possess extraordinary driving skills, but he also maneuvered two incredible horses, Pilla and Harpana, whose speed made them nearly impossible to surpass. What was even more daunting was Oenomaus's cold and ruthless gaze, which made his chances of winning seem unassailable to any challenger. Oenomaus's chariot was not only fast, but also incredibly agile. Whenever the race began, he easily left the other contestants behind, and his spear swiftly ended the lives of young princes who dared to challenge him. In this grim backdrop, no participant had managed to complete the race, falling one after another under the invincible king's spear. Every race became a deadly gamble, with each courageous prince laying down his life on the track. However, despite the horrific defeats of his predecessors that undoubtedly made the race seem more terrifying, Pelops did not waver. His heart burned with deep affection for Hippodamia, and this love gave him the courage to face all fears and uncertainties. Even knowing this was an almost unwinnable life-or-death challenge, Pelops decided to accept the race, determined to fight for the victory of love. He approached Oenomaus, declaring himself as Hippodamia's suitor, stepping boldly into what seemed like a destined path to failure. The aid of Poseidon. On the eve of the race, Pelops knew he was about to face a seemingly insurmountable life-or-death challenge. He understood that by relying solely on his strength, he could not compete with Oenomaus's formidable skills and driving prowess. Therefore, he decided to pray to Poseidon for assistance. As the ruler of the oceans, Poseidon could control the waves and storms, and his power was unmatched. Pelops realized that only by relying on this god's help could he hope to challenge Oenomaus. In mythology, Poseidon heard Pelops's plea and granted his request. In response, Poseidon bestowed upon Pelops a magical chariot, one that was unlike any other, drawn by two magnificent winged horses. These horses possessed incredible speed and strength, capable of swiftly traversing the seas and transporting Pelops to the starting line of the race in an instant. The gift from the sea god greatly bolstered Pelops's confidence. He knew that without divine aid, he might not return alive from this competition. On the day of the race, when Pelops drove Poseidon's miraculous chariot onto the course, everyone was astonished, especially Oenomaus. The king instantly recognized the origins of the horses. These were Poseidon's steeds, possessing unparalleled speed and strength. Although aware that his opponent had such divine power, Oenomaus did not feel disheartened. On the contrary, he remained confident in his abilities and determined to proceed with the race. For him, no matter how powerful the challenger, his chances of victory had never wavered. At that moment, the atmosphere on the racecourse became exceptionally tense, with both heroes prepared to face this life-or-death challenge. Pelops relied on Poseidon's magical powers, while Oenomaus maintained his belief in his invincibility. This race was destined to determine the future of both their fates. The thrilling race. The moment the race began, the two chariots shot toward the finish line like arrows, the heartbeats and breaths of the drivers almost in perfect sync, as if the entire world had fallen into the rhythm of this deadly contest. Pelops, driving the magical chariot gifted by Poseidon, quickly opened the distance between himself and Oenomaus, feeling the wind roaring past his ears and the ground rushing beneath his feet, his entire being immersed in an indescribable focus and tension. However, just as he was nearing the finish line, victory within reach, a deadly danger suddenly arose. Pelops glanced back and saw Oenomaus's chariot still tightly pursuing him, the king's cold eyes flashing with determination, his spear poised to strike. As Oenomaus's chariot grew closer, Pelops's heart raced again, fear surging over him like a tide. He knew that if he slowed down now, the king's spear would find him, and the outcome would be death. At that moment, Poseidon again extended his hand to help Pelops. The sea god of mythology, would not allow Pelops' chosen fate to be rewritten. Using his divine power, Poseidon completely destroyed the wheels of Oenomaus' chariot, causing the king's chariot to violently overturn and throwing him out, resulting in his death on the spot. This all happened so quickly that Pelops didn't have time to react. He had successfully passed Oenomaus and reached the finish line, the altar of Poseidon. When Pelops finally came to a stop and saw that he had arrived at his destination, he breathed a sigh of relief. All the tension and fear dissipated in an instant as he realized he had not only broken the chains of fate, but also achieved victory in love, and Poseidon's divine power had become the key to rewriting his destiny. Saving the bride. A love forever. The bells of victory finally rang as Pelops successfully defeated Oenomaus and welcomed his beloved bride, Hippodamia. Their wedding was filled with celebration and joy, as if all the difficulties and challenges had melted away in that moment. Pelops was filled with hope, believing that together with Hippodamia, they would create a life of happiness. However, fate seemed to allow for little peace or tranquility, as unexpected circumstances loomed nearby. As Pelops and his new wife Hippodamia drove their magical chariot, preparing to return to Pisa and start their new life, an unexpected event occurred. In the distance, he saw the royal castle of Pisa standing tall, but in an instant, a blinding flash of lightning struck the sky, followed by the castle being violently hit. The thunder roared as flames engulfed the entire castle. The burning light reflected in Pelops' eyes. He knew this disaster had come so swiftly and fiercely that no one would escape. Faced with this sudden catastrophe, Pelops did not hesitate for a moment. He drove his magical chariot straight into the raging inferno, with only one thought in mind: saving Hippodamia. He broke through the sea of fire, crossing the flames that consumed everything, and ultimately succeeded in rescuing her, both emerging unscathed. Hippodamia was profoundly grateful, and the two embraced, as if nothing could ever separate them. In the end, Pelops returned to Pisa with his beloved wife. His courage and wisdom allowed him not only to overcome the challenges of fate, but also to become the ruler of Pisa. Over time, Pelops achieved magnificent accomplishments in his territory. This once prince had now become a great king. Pelops' story began with that life and death chariot race. To win the beautiful Hippodamia, Pelops bravely participated in the deadly challenge set by Oenomaus. This race tested not only driving skills but was also a life and death struggle, with countless princes perishing on the track. Yet, Pelops did not falter. The love in his heart ignited immense courage, and with the help of the god Poseidon, he successfully triumphed over his powerful opponent, taking Hippodamia into his embrace. In the end, Pelops' courage and love conquered all difficulties. He returned with his beloved wife Hippodamia to Pisa, beginning a new chapter in his reign. His story reminds us that no matter how great the challenges we face, as long as we have love in our hearts and courage that never wavers, even fate can be rewritten. If you enjoyed this mythical story, please leave a comment below telling us your favorite part, and don't forget to share it with your friends, so you can discuss these wonderful tales together. Also, remember to subscribe to our channel for more exciting videos. We'll see you next time.